back to Maker's Digest. This is part 3 in the 3D printing Diorama Animals series. Except we're not going to print an animal in this update, we're going to print some trees. Had to consult with the ladies on which trees they wanted, and they picked these ones here. So we are going to print this tree and this one here. They're about 5 inches in diameter, so they're pretty big. And you'll be able to see that when we switch over to Slicer. I've already got them loaded up, and you can see just how big these are going to be. Great thing about the Mark III is I can fit both of these on the build platform. They're both going to be green, so that's pretty easy. One color, can do them both in one print. Can I attempt to do them in one print? Might be pretty tough. We'll see how long this takes. I've got fill density set at 5% because they don't need to be very dense at all. I'd go lower than that, but I haven't tried anything less in between 0 and 5. So we'll just go with 5%. I believe I have fixed the time-lapse feature on Octoprint using Octolapse. See you in a bit. And that was about a 12-hour print. So the time-lapse came out a little bit better, but apparently I need some more distance on that camera. I actually want to get a better camera. That's the Raspberry Pi version 2 camera that we're using on there. I don't have a lot of room. If I bring the camera back any farther, it's going to be on the workbench. So, I don't know, maybe we'll set up a DSLR or something and get some better pictures. It's just totally in the way if it's going to take 12 hours to print something. Let's pull these off of here and see what they look like. There's one. There's the other. All right, let's look at this one first. A few ugly spots, but not too bad. Definitely has a harder time on this underside. It's pretty impressive though. If you this was the bottom, you see the angle that this is able to print without any support structure. We'll just, did much better on these sides. I wonder why that is. Less of an angle? It's about the same. So let's look at the other one. Not so great there. The rest of it looks pretty awesome. Let's see if we can get better focus. Look at the other one. Here's the ugly spot. So they weren't too hot on the tree trunks, it was just the stick you saw earlier in the video. So we are going to make our own tree trunks. We're going to take some measurements on this and see how big this opening is. Since the only 3D software that I'm relatively okay at using is Fusion, that's what we're going to do. So it's probably going to be less artistic and a little more industrial, but let's go make the tree trunks and see what comes out. Typically when I model in Fusion 360, I'm creating a part or something that's going to be a little more functional. and I create a new component for every part or component that exists. But when I'm doing a 3D model for 3D printing, everything kind of stays in one component because it's easier to merge together at the end and kick out. And you can also just create sketches and create the features that you need anywhere you want, and it does not really matter too much. So we're going to do a polygon right on the center, and you'll see why that's important. And we come up with 9.35. Let's do that. Make sure that's centered and aligned. Okay, we're going to extrude that out to, let's say it was about 23 inches or 23 millimeters that we wanted to have inside the tree trunk. So 23, let's do 133. So that's going to be the center post, and about this much of it will be into the tree. And maybe let's do a little more than that. No, that's right, because they're pretty tall on the shrubbery side. So let's go to the front. We're going to create a sketch on this face. Probably not the best way to do it. If you have a better way of doing this, let me know in the comments. Let's draw a line somewhere in here, which is going to be construction line. It's going to show us where the top of that is. So 33, we wanted 23. And so now we have 23 mils protruding into the tree. I'm going to take a spline. What we're going to do is we're going to create a couple of different features to give it some texture and some depth. Since it's jungly, we'll go out here. Somewhere a little bit gnarly. We'll finish this off. So we have complete closed sketch. And there it is. So let's modify that so it looks a little cooler. A little bit of gnarl there. Do something like that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take that, extrude that out, let's say 6 millimeters. And the reason we put this right in the center is now we need to take this body and line it up on the center of this point. So we're just going to move this. Let's put this in a little better place so we can see what we're doing. Change that pivot around. We'll go right to the top. Yeah, I know I could probably do a join on this, but I'm not doing it that way. Somewhere in there. And just so it's inside. OK. So now that we have that, we can take that body again and create a circular pattern. And we want to make the axis the y-axis. And we can have a few of these things. So I'm going to want to do 4, not 45. 5. Sure, let's see what 5 looks like on there. Oh wait, I want to make this look a little more tree-like. Let's put our fillets on there. That's better. Circular pattern, axis, y-axis, top, 5. Starting to look a little cooler. Let's add another feature. This time we're going to go to a different surface, so they're kind of offset. We could always rotate them, but this might be a little easier. Create another sketch, that surface. But before we do that, let's create a group, call it feature 1. And then we can take all of the bodies that we just created, move it in there, and the reason we do that is now we can turn them off. And they're still separate bodies, so we can manipulate as needed. This is the main trunk. So we're on this, we want to create a line. There we have it. That's about as much as I'm going to do. Doesn't really look too much like a tree. Don't really like this too much, but it's what they get. And it was kind of fun to model. Try to figure out how to do stuff like this in Fusion. If anybody's got better ideas, let me know in the comments. Okay, so when you do create something like this in Fusion, you can just go to the top component if you want the entire model and say save as STL, and format binary, one file. We don't need to change anything because we want it to be the actual size. Select OK. We'll call that tree trunk. That's just fine. Save. Now we jump over to, there's the trees. So let's delete all. I'm gonna add that tree trunk version 2 in there. Is it really that big? Okay then, maybe it is that big. Let's add one of those tree tops in there. Interesting. We're going to print it. We're going to see what happens. We're going to do low infill. Print setting is going to be at 0.2 millimeters because it'll actually look cooler as a tree if it's that way. Slice, 3D, send to printer. On this one, I have some new brown. It's actually called copper, but it was the closest thing to a brown I could find. All right, we'll see you when this comes out. And this is what happened. I was completely wrong about the size. In Fusion, when I created this hexagon and we gave it the 9.3 millimeter what I thought was diameter, it was actually radius, because when it creates a hexagon, it's basing it on a circle, and that was the radius. So I went back into Fusion after I printed about 3 layers of this and saw how huge it was. You can see how much bigger that was. Maybe there. Yeah, you can see that outline of where the other filament was. I went back into Fusion and measured it, and it was double the size, 18 point something millimeters. So easiest fix for that was I went back into Slicer and then just reduced it by 50%. So let's see if it fits. Well, let's take it off here first. Oh, I'm gonna need to clean that up a little bit. No problem. Enjoy. And there it is. Kind of a funny little tree, but it's going into a diorama. A little better view here. All right, that'll work. Print one more of these and should be done with the trees. So might end up printing one more tree, so there's 3 of them, but I won't put you through that again. All right, Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.